Has anybody heard of the black market for breast milk?
Yes. Yes.
There's also a black market for beautiful farm-grown poop. And so this is called the fecal microbiota transplant for those that are listening, FMT. And clinically, FMT is actually been showing for years some amazing results in multiple different things.
Hey guys, guess what? Jodi is now in the running for, you're tied currently for best podcast background. Jodi, where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from the lovely Bali, Indonesia, and I am staying in Barawa at the moment, and it is warm.
So, Jodi, I gotta tell you something. You're not original. We've already had somebody who's been on the show from Bali.
Yep, I know.
I hate
yep,
to break it to you. Okay. Okay. I've got a series here of questions that we're going to do as sort of an icebreaker, and I'm only going to ask one of you because otherwise it would take too much time. Alan, do uncomfortable situations bring out the best or worst out of you?
Ooh, definitely the best for sure. Yeah.
Including that time you were on Eurovision?
The line of love. Yeah, you have me there.
Yeah, in more ways than one. All right. So we got the faculty back here today to have another fun conversation, and to set the scene, aside from the fact that Jodi's in Bali and Alan is apparently both ABBA and the Lion of Love at the same time, we're going to get into a little bit of just sort of clinical experiences and stories, case studies, things that we've heard about the gut. Now, I'll set the story here before I get into the actual question. When I was a young warthog getting into all things health optimization, before I even knew what health optimization medicine is, I have to admit that the gut was the last place I wanted to look for my own health. And this was when I was trying to dissect everything at sort of a surface level, or as Dr. Ted would say, with more deductive logic than inductive logic. And the thing that I refused to look at was the gut, because the gut's not really sexy. I wanted to look at nootropics and all of these really cool devices that would make me on all the time. And I didn't really look at the gut at all. And that was a little bit of a flaw. A leak, if you will. Haha, you see what I did there? And then
a little personal there, Boomer.
But leaking. Oh, that's too much information.
But I was talking about my gut.
We'll talk about other side effects of things Boomer's trying.
Anyway, so yeah, that's probably a whole episode in itself. But this is about you, not me. And so what we want to get into today is common mistakes about the gut. You've already heard mine, where I neglected actually addressing my gut for a long time because I just thought, like, hey, if you have an okay diet, it's fine. But with you guys as clinicians, somebody comes into your door, and let's go to the craziest stories and things that you've heard about the gut and what people have tried to improve their gut. And since he's laughing so hard right now, Dr. Sherr is on the mic.
Yes, sir. Aaron Bursar. Yes. So a couple of things come to mind here. And has anybody heard of the black market for breast milk?
Yes. Yes.
well, there's also a black market for beautiful farm-grown poop.
Never mind. I might have something to contribute. Okay.
And so this is called the fecal microbiota transplant for those that are listening, FMT. And clinically, FMT is actually been showing for years some amazing results in multiple different things. The most important is something called C. diff, which is an infection that happens when you've taken antibiotics. You kill off the other bugs, but C. diff grows in the colon and causes toxic exposure. You can die from it. I've seen people die from it. It is uncool. That's kind of a maybe that's
Yeah,
just like,
it's C. diff is Clostridium difficile. For those of you guys who want to know the scientific name of the bug, it's actually found in the soil, right? And it's actually very, very lethal, especially in babies and young children. So it was actually the Boston, I think the Brigham and Women's Hospital, who
Yeah, it was
actually
Harvard study,
started the
yeah.
first poop transplants, right? It's a poop in a pill. They make the kids take this.
Yeah, before this, it was actually via colonoscopy, right? So that's before there was poops in a pill, which is something new and coming around now more. There was just,
I thought you were going to say bisexual acts, but that's
well, that's for a different podcast that we host after hours. Everybody,
the introducing of the
This is Dr. Ted's knowledge from being in Paris and training as an anti-aging doctor.
No. Actually, what I wanted to say here is that there are very few world experts in fecal microbiota transplants, so you really shouldn't be doing this to yourself, right?
Exactly.
I actually had to bring a couple of my patients to Germany, to the guy who is actually one of the foremost experts, in fecal microbiota transplant. This was done by, of course, colonoscopy. The donors were, of course, screened, and takes them, as I said before, and I think in another podcast, it actually takes them 3 years to prepare a donor. So they get them young, and then they actually monitor them over the course of 3 years before they actually get approved as donors. So it's quite a process. Just because you have healthy poops doesn't mean that it has healthy microbiota. Remember, you might get sued too. With a case this is a case in Boston where, and this was a legal fecal microbiota transplant, right? But, she was able to get rid of her IBS, right? So, and so on. So everything was copacetic until she started getting obese, right?
Yes.
Because the donor, while slim now, used to be fat, and now she was also getting fatter. So be careful about these things, guys.
So, yes, you've basically said exactly what I'm trying to convey here, Ted, is that I had a patient that went and got a black market fecal microbiota transplant plan from a donor that he met on the internet. And this did not go well. Okay. Did not go well at all. We have black markets for breast milk. We have black markets for sperm. Dr. Bookatz knows all about this. I think per ml, I think sperm is the most expensive thing you could buy as far on the black market, as far as I'm aware, even more expensive than gold, as last I checked. Maybe, but I don't know gold. Boomer, you know better about the gold prices than I do.
1,000 per troy ounce. So.
Yeah, there you go. So I would highly recommend, as Dr. Ted said, really going to a place that does a lot of screening for poop. It's sort of the Wild West out there. I mean, even with fecal microbiota transplants, I mean, like, again, there could be some collateral side effects like becoming obese if you don't know the donor sometimes. So that would be the first story. I mean, I could tell more, but I think maybe that's a good enough one to start off with. But FMT on its own is being shown having amazing results with C. difficile or Clostridium difficile, along with things like inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis, even some autoimmune conditions like MS and others have some pretty interesting results using this as a mechanism. And also, as Dr. Ted was mentioning, there are new companies that are trying to get poop pills, poop in a capsule kind of thing. We know a couple of these companies. I'm not sure.
I think they're calling them Probiotics now, right? Too.
I mean, sure. I mean, that would make sense, I guess. But I don't know how rigorous this research in this world. But maybe soon you'll be just swallowing poop to optimize your gut, and there you go.
I mean, black markets are a leading indicator, right? So I think the moral of the story there is you got to be working with like somebody who seriously knows what they're doing, which in Ted's words, go to Germany, but there might be some other people.
No, there's some good places around in the U.S. now that do this regularly, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. We have been graced here with Dr. Bookatz this evening. And so the man who's had more stories about things in the gut than I've ever heard in my life. I'll pass it over to you and let's see what happens.
Jesus, I mean, yeah, I wasn't planning on going down that route.
No, you don't
know,
have to. I think you can go down.
I think Scott has
fairly
us covered with Scott has covered with the more R, X and R rated versions of this. So we'll go with the, we talk about bad myths. And I think the one that jumps out to me is that like raw vegetables are always better than cooked, right? There's this like theme that, okay, it's alive, and all the enzymes and the vitamins are all readily available, and we need to be taking put lots of kale into our smoothies, and it's really interesting. So bringing it to the ER, because that's kind of where all all good stories end or begin, I guess. I remember having a patient that thought she was being super healthy, and all she went on was like a kale smoothie diet, right? And so she's eating kale for breakfast. She replaced all of her potato chips with like the roasted kale, which actually is pretty good. Anyway, she did this over a series of months and almost replaced everything else with like some type of spinach or raw plant. And so what's interesting, she came in and her neck was actually quite full, and she actually came in with flank pain. And what this was is that she actually ended up messing up her thyroid. And if for those that don't know, raw kale has these compounds called thiocyanates. And what they do is they interfere with your ability to produce thyroid hormone. And I can't remember how they do it. Is it iodine uptake, Ted? I'm sure you know.
It's sequestration.
Okay, yeah,
it
like takes iodine and
it sequesters iodine. Yeah,
it sequesters your iodine so that your thyroid can't actually use it, and then so essentially you become hypothyroid. So she was putting on weight, right? And she's we're on the gut, right? So she's more gaseous and she's constipated, and she's coming in with the severe side pain because she has this huge kidney stone that she's developed because kale has high levels of these things called oxalates in them, which bind to minerals like calcium and magnesium, and then they precipitate actually in the kidney because your body's like, hey man, this is really bad for me, and it tries to get rid of it, and it gets concentrated in the kidney. So going back to let's evaluate this potential myth. So when we look at a recommendation like that, I think we have to explore the evolutionary perspective, and that's what we do really well on HOMeHOPe. And so if we look, we actually have evidence that humans have been cooking for thousands and thousands of years, right? We don't really see humans eating raw tubers. It's actually very well documented that we will boil tubers, right? And we will actually cook vegetables, we'll cook meats. And so not only from obviously fire was a huge catalyst of this, but cooked foods, are easier to digest. And in a way, we actually are liberating energy, and we're liberating those nutrients so that the time that we have to spend on chewing and digesting, and it's very energy expensive for us to do that. And if you look at our actual anatomy, we have we only have the stomach, and we have the small and large intestine. And if you look at animals that actually can eat like raw kale and a lot of grasses, not only is their dental structure different, but they actually have multiple different rumens that have different species of enzyme, different species of microbiota, but also different enzymes that break it down along the stage. So
guys, remember, when someone says you're ruminating, say you're not a cow.
Exactly. So anyway, that was a very that was sort of always brought me home to why we cook. And so for those that are listening, right, it's okay to lightly steam your vegetables. Obviously, you can, if you boil them, then you are going to denature the vitamins. And so we want to be thoughtful with our application of thermal energy or heat, right? So we can lightly steam it, you can blanch it, and that way you're breaking down the cellulose, think about it, you just want to briefly liberate the enzymes and liberate the vitamins and the polyphenols so that you can easily digest it. And also you're inactivating those phytonutrients or the phytotoxins and the other compounds that will actually bind, and those are like the plant defenses that actually cause smaller animals to become very ill. So if you have
This is actually good, Alan, because before we started our meeting earlier, there was actually a patient who just emailed me, just to lose a few more pounds. She went on a raw food diet, and it was all plant-based, right? And now she says, I don't know, I've taken out a lot of your supplements and I still have this headache that I can get rid of. Should I take out more of your supplements and all that? It's like, and I just responded very politely and said, if you really, I said, I suspect it's one of the macronutrients is probably missing or at a very low level. Why don't we test your levels, and see what's actually driving your metabolism these days. If you're already on a 1 month mark, you probably have induced a lot of deficiencies already because, we don't have the enzymes for most of these raw foods, right? That's why, in fact, in evolution, the discovery of fire and the invention of cooking, for this maximized one thing, which is growth of humans, right? After cooking, humans were able to eat a lot more, so they started to grow more in stature, right? So those humans that cook, they actually were able to absorb more nutrients and so on. And so their lines persisted, right? And they started to grow bigger also. If you take a look at the stunted growth of the earlier for species, that was before actually the discovery of that you can actually cook your food. So there's an evolutionary line for this that shows us getting bigger actually with food. So with cooked food, right? The other thing that is minimized was actually it minimized a lot of infection because a lot of the viral and bacterial viruses and bacteria in food or in soil were actually inactivated or killed by cooking. So those two are actually of benefit, but they actually also were a non-benefit to us because then humans became overpopulated. But anyway, that's another story, right?
Ted, you probably, if anyone's been watching the news lately, right, there are it feels like there's just these continuous recalls for spinach and different leafy greens. With listeria is one of the non-commensal bacterial species that causes profound diarrhea and vomiting and abdominal cramps and a lot of sickness. And so we're actually seeing that. There are, even in today's world where we think mass agriculture production, there's and triple wash should mean something, but it's triple washed in what, like just some water. So if we're looking at, if you're thinking, oh, I don't want to heat something, well, there are also other ways to prepare foods. And so if you look at ways that we would do this that align with our human evolution, fermenting foods, right? So we're allowing the microbiota, which are commensal, to do that digestion for us and break it down. Plus, they're also helpful for our own microbiota, or they help replenish. And then also sprouting would be another option available to reduce the anti-nutrients. And then you're also liberating a lot more energy because that plant you're converting starches to now early proteins and other phytonutrients that are going to be more bioavailable. Boom.
Chat's in the house.
I'm gonna go eat a Quest bar now.
Yeah,
with some kale chips.
We might bleep that one out. Tom Bilal is going to come after. No, anyway, Adam, Jodi, in the land of raw everything, what are you consuming these days, or what? Actually, let's go to
there's a lot of raw smoothie bowls and all sorts going on here. Well, I used to be on that train of raw food many years ago. And it was funny because I also worked, when I was studying, working my way through my degree, I was actually a colonic hydrotherapist. So I would see the most incredible cleansers, and some clients had been on cleansers for maybe
These are the things I don't know about Jodi.
I know. So I did my course on it and everything. So it was, very interesting. So that's actually how I met some of my colleagues that I know now, and how I started my business, Revital Health. I met my business partner at the time through this. So yeah, it was very interesting. And so I got into raw food. I was living in London after this, and actually got into doing some of the raw food, pure plant foods. And yeah, I lost a lot of weight, but then transitioning, and I think we had a podcast not too long ago about my brisket that broke me, coming back onto meat, it was a really tricky thing to then digest meat again. And so I didn't feel the greatest. Like my energy was good to start with, but it wasn't great afterwards. And so I realised that I was missing quite a lot of things from the diet that I had. And so what I naturally saw was a lot of clients coming to me that were on raw food, vegan diets, and I've commented on this before, and I saw a lot of them getting really sick, really bloated, really unwell, and missing out on test results, not only the B12 and the iron, but the other associations with some of their vitamin A's and obviously the fatty acids and the multitudes of those that were coming through, and energy production for them were, especially on the metabolomics testing, was really low. So I was seeing some big discrepancies in that. So meat as medicine is how I got them back onto that, and very gently, and using digestive enzymes and helping support the gut function. But what I saw was, in these times of doing my colonic hydrotherapy, is, yes, the extent that people were willing to go to for cleansers. So there was parasite cleansers, there was juice cleansers, there was taking huge amounts of herbal, sorry guys, one second.
We'll get the editing mojo going.
And for those of us that, are interested in hearing good sort of cleanses.
Yeah, hold on.
Throwback to an earlier episode.
Before Jodi comes back, can we just talk about Jodi was a colonic hydrotherapist?
This is something that we need an episode about,
This is hiding information. Clearly we didn't, nobody got references before Jodi came on scene.
It was an experience, for sure, sticking pipes up people's bottoms.
Yeah.
I used to study a lot of poo, so I've seen firsthand a lot of different types of poo. So I must say that that's something that I pride myself on.
Are you sure they were just not addicted to the procedure? because it was pleasurable to them?
But I found that they got a bit of a hit from it, and so I used to get repeated colonic. I had to turn people away, so they would be coming in once a week, sometimes twice a week, and I'm like, it's not ideal that you're doing this to your body. So I would get people who are coming through even with anorexia, and so I started to work with a lot of clients with eating disorders as well. And I had a few clients faint on me on the table. So it was a very interesting time. So some of the cleansers that I saw, taking herbal supplements and taking herbal strong berberine herbs, and they were getting quite sick, stomach aches, cramps, pain, inflammation, and causing themselves more harm than good. So some of the myths that I would get asked would be, does the colonic hydrotherapy wash out our natural bacteria? So do we remove it? Obviously, for a short point of time, you actually do remove the bacteria as the water washes through, but it never completely removes it, and you get reinoculation after, only 20 minutes or so. But generally, the gut will reinoculate itself and change within 2 to 3 days. So the other ones I used to see would be people with chronic constipation. So I got very good at treating constipation. And Clostridium is a huge component of that. So now I see Clostridium in really high amounts, and we see this in the GI effects. We see this also in the organic acids testing that we do in metabolomics. And it's very interesting to see that some of these differences and changes in the bacteria can actually cause, and our population changes can cause constipation and a lot of trouble for these clients. So they would come in, they would try and have colonics to help support them. I had one client who had been on for 20 years. She'd taken PrEP so it's not drug PrEP, but she'd been taking PrEP for before you do colonoscopy. And the gastroenterologist had her on it for 10 to 15 years, every single day, or every second day, actually. And then she started to have issues with that, so then they put her on Epsom salts every single day. And she would show me the amount of Epsom salt she would put in the container, and it was half a cup of Epsom salts that she would take every second day to actually be able to go to the toilet. And this lady had low energy, brain fog. She was going through menopause at the time. She had bloating, distension, pain. She had daggers in her stomach, and she was also coming for colonics as well. So had to work with her for that. And it was, again, it's as we look at, especially in HOMeHOPE, we look at all systems. We look at the matrix, and it was a lot of emotional connection for her. And what I found was there was a lot of holding on and not a lot of letting go, literally. So that was very interesting. So yes, I've seen my fair share of cleansers, and that's where today there's a lot of myths around trying to get rid of parasites, but the parasites actually aren't there. So if you test them, they don't exist. Yeah, so that's my story.
I'm sort of left speechless here.
Yeah.
Where to get so many questions?
You still can't get over the fact that she was a colonic hydrotherapist. No, get over it already.
Sorry. No, but there's a lot of questions. No. But I think the parasite discussion is a very relevant one. I'm sure everybody here has had somebody come in who thinks they have parasites out the wazoo, and not usually, but sometimes they test out and there's nothing there.
Well, there's also the other part where, would you like to have some tapeworm so you can have some weight loss?
The OG Ozempic.
Clients used to buy it online to come in and say, I've just found this best weight loss pill. It's got a tapeworm in it. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Wait,
Helminth therapy is a real thing. Helminth therapy is a real thing. Let's not knock it, okay?
I know that. But
Is
it really there, though? Is it really?
But
where are you getting
maybe
it from?
I have like a different set of clients than you guys. I don't know. This is interesting. Okay.
You need to venture out into the wild west, Boomer. It's fun.
Yeah. You want worms? Come talk to me. No, I'm joking.
Is this one of the don't knock it till you try it, or?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is just a knock. But all right, let's dismount over to Dr. Ted here, who's going to take us through his favorite ones.
No, actually, my favorite one is sort of like, I think, a failure of logic on our parts, especially if we are looking at mostly metabolic issue and solving it with something surgical. Ever heard of like gut health makeovers by surgery in order to lose weight? I've been in practice for such a long time that I was scratching my head when people were recommending intragastric balloons, right? You put in a balloon in there so that you decrease the gastric volume. It's like, and I have patients actually asking me for this. And, why? I said, well, it doesn't solve the problem, right? And actually, there's a lot of complications for intragastric balloons, but that was just the beginning. I don't know why we're insisting, because we're so good on quick fixes, right? And they're actually selling this in the market as gut health makeovers. And, and when a patient comes to me, it's like asking one of this, I just have to present them, with the data of what complications they're going to have. The other one is the lap band. Remember when the lap band was so popular among the Hollywood stars? And I had some patients in that crowd who were actually asking me about the lap band, right? So, there's a, 30, I'm looking at the data now. It's like 36 to 66% reoperation at 10 years, right? And then, you remember the endoscopic sleeve gastroplasty, or put a surgical sleeve plication, right? So they're folding the stomach onto itself, right? So they cinch the stomach essentially, right? So it's smaller. It's like, Yeah, but you're still not going to stave off that appetite and everything, right? It's just like this mechanical way that we're looking at this thing. And of course, the one of the ones that I actually was throwing up at was the duodenal jejunal bypass. Remember those, Alan? Did you have patients from LA, who had duodenal jejunal bypass, entering your ER with fulminant hepatic abscess, right? So,
Yeah.
and the one that I was glad that actually came off the market was what's it called, the medically sanctioned bulimia, that it was called Aspire Assist, right? Aspiration therapy, where there's a percutaneous tube that lets patients drain 20 to 30% of a meal into the toilet, and it was called medically sanctioned bulimia, right? So.
I have never.
Wow.
No.
Yes, I've heard of this, and
I've never heard of that one.
I because the crowd that I was with before was the Hollywood set, right? They wanted, they didn't want to wait 2 weeks, to fit into a little black dress. They wanted like tomorrow. I need to fit in there, right?
And and their teeth, right? I mean, yeah, you can't be messing up the teeth.
Yeah, that's nothing with teeth, so you have to,
So.
And then the last one is the one that was also taken off market, right? So there's a pulse generator. It's called the V Block. It was by Maestro. I don't know whether or not any of you heard of this, but essentially it's a vagal nerve blockade, right? So there's a pulse generator that curbs the hunger signals, right? But they found out it actually doesn't beat the sham, and the surgeons described the system as a pacemaker looking for an indication. They were actually just putting it in to see whether or not it will curb your hunger. So because there's a satiety center in the brain, right, that is triggered by the increased volume of the stomach, and it's a vagal nerve signal, right? So that's actually quite interesting that we are actually surgeries for the gut for weight loss are some of the worst ideas that I've ever encountered, is because we're looking at a mostly metabolic issue and solving it with something surgical, right? And that's because of our instant gratification thing. It's kind of like health optimization medicine and practice, right? We balance the hormones and the nutrients of the body. It may take us 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, right? And what I tell my patients and my clients is that you did not get into this state overnight. It took you 40 years to get here. What makes you think that overnight you can get fixed, right? And that kind of mentality, the silver bullet mentality that one procedure is going to do it, it's sort of anathema to the practice of optimizing health, because optimizing health is continuous. Right, the goal is to optimize it every day. And every day you have you're balancing out your nutrient metabolites, for example, and then you're also optimizing your lifestyle, right? And this is actually based on the cellular performance, and also based on your age, right? So the other things that annoy me are exercises or diets that they recommend for people, but they don't actually show which age group is actually appropriate for, right? And these are the things that are very bothersome, right? Because these various different age groups would have different nutrient requirements, and the only time that you could definitely objectively say what the requirements are is when you test where the metabolites are. Right? So, all of this gut advice, like cleaning up your, it's actually very timely that Jodi mentioned something about the colon. During the last episode that we had, I had a patient actually wanting to take off all of the hormones and nutrients because she was feeling so good after her colon hydrotherapy, right? And it's like, yeah, this is exactly why we measure stuff, right? It's just because you experience a tiny blip in feeling good doesn't mean that you can remove everything else, right? In fact, probably the reason why you feel good after you got it was because you were balanced enough to withstand the assault of what was done to you, right? So these are the things I still find it very bothersome that we would rather aspirate the stomach and actually let out the food in the toilet, right? Rather than actually address this for the longer term. So that's what this advice that our patients get. Because they're exposed to all of this, they're exposed to the social pressures, the pressures of their job. It's really our mandate to educate them when they come with us. So we come with these funny stories, we come with icky stories, we come with horror stories about surgeries, right? For those of you who have managed, like I have, for example, I've managed lap bands and intragastric balloons personally, and one patient with a duodenal jejunal bypass, which was horrible, right? So, but the aspiration therapy, where I only found out about that in Hollywood. Really, it's like shit, and these are the kinds of things that show us our impatience towards taking care of our health. So when we optimize health, we have to be patient, right? Because as I always say, you have to coax grandma. We have an ancient system, right? We have a system that evolved to the environment of the time, right? It is not to this world that we have created, but to the environment at the time. So we're definitely have the hunter-gatherer habitus, right? And then we have created a world that is essentially an impedance mismatch with our make and model. And so when we get all of these types of advice, you're basically shocking the system, right? We ought to use, the science that we have today, like metabolomics, etc., to determine exactly what's going on. Right? Obesity, for example, as I said, can be linked to lack of sleep, or can be linked to excessive use of antibiotics. There was a doctor before who actually told me, said, Ted, if you want a gastric microbiome reset, just give your patient a ton of antibiotics. And of course, this guy was an infectious disease person, right? It's just like, pow, and these are the kinds of things that you get, right, from specialists, right? And if it's GERD, hey, you have to give proton pump inhibitors. These are the kinds of things that are now not funny. They're bordering on the horror mode for me if you see the longer term effects of these drugs and surgeries, etc. So guys, my thing is that if you want to have a gut health makeover, get your nutrient metabolome taken, get your poop test, take a look at what you have in there, get your food sensitivities done, and then we could start slowly working with you, right? What a concept, right? We're not telling you what to do. We will work with you on how to actually make that gut healthy, right? And remember, it's not an overnight affair. So, and that's how I would like to close this. Do not swallow anyone's poop.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone cross it off your...
Do you have to say that, really? Is that something that we have to really have to really say? But
well, Scott, it's a fetish. It's a fetish for some people. Ever heard of coprophagia?
It's a thing. It's
it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, Cleveland steamers are not enough. You have to be coprophagic. Anyway.
Well, that's the late night podcast.
Okay, I'll stop now.
1-900 Dr. Ted.
Just we might want to start buying keywords on Google on coprophagia, but all right,
I think they're going to be pretty inexpensive keywords.
Yeah. You'd be surprised, right?
Maybe niche kinds of things
keywords be quite expensive. All right. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining once again. I'm continually baffled at these conversations as to where we end up in everybody's department. So whether it's learning about colonic hydrotherapy or, some of the things that Dr. Bookatz was talking about, and actually kale and the kale queen, or, here in stomach stapling blues traveler style to dismount. But anyway, thank you guys for joining. And everybody, have a wonderful day. And to those listening, please continue life smarter.
Good done, Pat.
Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in to the Smarter Harder podcast, where we give you 1 cent solutions to $64,000 questions. You've been here with the hosts of the Smarter Harder podcast. We're so excited to have you. Please come again, like and subscribe. Until we see you next time, good evening, good morning.
Goodbye.